The twin suns of Leora cast golden light over the wide valley. The air shimmered with heat, but the ground smelled fresh after a night of rain. Humans had built their colony at the edge of this valley, close to the river that carried water down from snow-covered peaks. For months there had been trade and peace between the humans and the native people of this world, the Cerealians. Elias Morgan was one of the explorers sent to learn more about Cerealian culture. He was young, tall, and often curious about things others ignored. While most humans only wanted to secure food and minerals, Elias had a habit of asking questions about songs, traditions, and stories. His friends sometimes called him a dreamer, but Elias believed knowledge was as valuable as any metal. This morning, Elias walked with a small team toward the Cerealian village. Around him, the tall crystal-leaf trees reflected the sunlight in silver tones. He could already hear distant drums and voices. Today was an important day for the Cerealians, the coming of age of Serenia, the daughter of their elder. Serenia was known among her people for her calm nature and her skill in guiding the young. She was graceful, with silver-blue skin that shimmered faintly under sunlight and bright eyes that seemed to carry hidden thoughts. Humans often kept a respectful distance from her, for she belonged to the elder's bloodline. When Elias and his team entered the village, they were welcomed with music and warmth. The Cerealians believed in showing guests the beauty of their rituals. Colored banners hung from tall poles and children scattered petals along the ground. At the center of the gathering space stood a large carved table made from crystal wood. On the table rested a set of shining cups filled with a thick, glowing liquid. The Cerealians called it essence milk, taken from sacred plants that grew only near the mountains. It was rare, precious, and normally shared only among family members during great ceremonies. It was said that drinking from the same cup linked souls in spirit. Elias did not know this. As the music slowed, the elder of the Cerealians raised his hands. His voice carried across the crowd as he spoke in his language, words that were later translated for the humans. Today, my daughter Serenia steps into her role as guide and protector. With her first sharing of the sacred milk, she accepts the bond of family and future. The Cerealians cheered softly. Serenia stepped forward, dressed in flowing white cloth decorated with glowing threads. Her eyes held pride but also nervousness. She reached for her cup, ready to drink. At that moment, Elias, who had been standing nearby and distracted by the beautiful symbols on the table, thought the cups were part of the welcome offering for guests. He had felt thirsty from the long walk, and without thinking, he lifted one of the shining cups to his lips. The liquid was sweet, warm, and strangely alive. It flowed into him like sunlight. The village gasped. Drums stopped. All eyes turned toward Elias. Serenia froze, her hand halfway to her own cup. The elder's voice thundered, but Elias did not understand. He lowered the cup, confused. Then it happened. A sudden rush of feelings hit him like a storm. His heart raced, not from his own body, but from somewhere else. Fear, shock, a deep nervousness about failing her people. These emotions were not his. They were too sharp, too real, and they pulsed inside his mind. He looked around in panic, but then his eyes met Serenia's, and he knew. Her emotions were flowing into him. At the same time, his own thoughts spilled outward. His curiosity, his excitement, even his private doubts. Serenia flinched as if struck, and her eyes widened. The crowd began whispering. Some covered their mouths. Others stepped back. The elder's face hardened. Serenia spoke first, her voice trembling. I can feel him. Elias stumbled. His hands shook. What's happening to me? The human team rushed to his side, but Elias waved them back, too overwhelmed. His head burned with emotions not his own. Serenia's nervousness filled him, and at the same time she felt his confusion and guilt. Their minds overlapped, tangled like vines. The elder raised his staff. You have done what no outsider should ever do, he said sternly. The milk binds souls. You have taken the bond meant for blood. Elias dropped to one knee, gasping. His voice cracked. I didn't know. I didn't mean... But Serenia clutched her chest, her own breath uneven. Father, it is true. He speaks truth. His regret burns in me as if it is my own. The villagers murmured louder. Some looked afraid, others curious. For the Cerealians, this was unheard of. Never had their sacred bond crossed species. The elder closed his eyes. This is dangerous. A human and a Cerealian bound by soul. It could break both minds. It must be undone. Yet even as he spoke, Elias and Serenia felt each other more clearly. Their connection pulsed with strange life. Elias could sense her pride, her duty, her secret wish to be free of constant expectations. Serenia could feel Elias's longing for understanding, his desire to prove that humans could be more than takers of resources. She whispered, half to herself, half to him, "I can hear you without words." Elias swallowed hard. "And I hear you." The elder struck his staff on the ground. "This must be controlled. Until a solution is found, you two cannot be apart. If the bond pulls too hard, one mind may shatter." The humans protested, but the elder silenced them. He knew their laws. Tradition demanded they guard the bond until it stabilized or broke. That night, Elias sat in a small hut at the edge of the village, his head in his hands. Serenia sat across from him, silent. Every thought he tried to bury rose up, and she felt it as if it was her own. Her quiet doubts, too, flowed into him. There was no hiding. Finally, Serenia spoke, her voice soft but steady. "You drank what was mine. Now we share everything. It may destroy us, or it may show something new." Elias looked up, his eyes heavy with fear and wonder. "I didn't want this. But maybe it happened for a reason." Outside, the village kept watch, whispering about fate, curse, and destiny. Inside, two souls, human and Cerealian, sat in silence, hearing each other's hearts without a single spoken word. The morning after the accident came slowly for Elias. He had not slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he felt Serenia's dreams as if they were his own. Strange flashes of color, half-formed voices, and the deep weight of responsibility pressed into him. When he woke, it was not only his own exhaustion he carried, but hers too. He sat up inside the hut, rubbing his face. The soft hum of the Cerealian village reached his ears. Fires crackled. Children's laughter floated in the distance. Yet inside him, there was only unease. Across from him, Serenia sat with her back straight, her silver-blue skin glowing faintly in the dawn light. Her eyes, however, were shadowed with fatigue. Elias could feel it as clearly as his own. "You didn't sleep either," Elias said quietly. Serenia's gaze softened, though her voice stayed calm. "How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, your thoughts brushed against mine." "You dream loudly." Elias gave a nervous laugh, scratching the back of his neck. "Sorry, I didn't ask for this." She tilted her head slightly, studying him. "Nor did I, but we are tied now. What we feel, what we think, it is no longer only ours." Elias sighed. The weight of her words pressed on him, not just through his ears, but through the bond itself. He felt the truth of it inside his chest, a heavy knot that tightened whenever she spoke. Struggling with the connection later that day, the elder called them both to the central hall. The walls of the hall were carved with spirals and stars, symbols of journeys and unity. Cerealian council members stood in a circle, their expressions serious. The humans, including Elias's team, were allowed inside but kept at the edges. The elder raised his staff, its crystal tip glowing faintly. "The bond has formed. It cannot be ignored. Until it is undone, you will remain together. If you separate, the strain may break your minds." Elias stiffened. "Are you saying we're trapped like this?" Serenia answered before her father could. Her voice was calm, but Elias felt her hidden frustration echo in his chest. "Yes, we cannot walk different paths now. Not until we learn control." The elder nodded. "You will be trained. The bond must be mastered. Only then will we decide if it is a curse or a gift." Training began at once. They were taken to a quiet grove outside the village, where crystal trees grew in spirals and water ran over smooth stones. A guide named Erilyn, older and wise, taught them meditation. "Close your eyes," Erilyn instructed. "Do not fight the bond. Listen to it. Learn where your thoughts end and where the others begin." Elias tried, but the moment he shut his eyes, Serenia's emotions rushed in like a flood. Nervousness, pressure, the endless weight of being the elder's daughter. At the same time, she felt his restless curiosity, his doubts, even the ache of missing home. "Stop pushing," Serenia muttered, her voice sharp. "I'm not pushing." Elias snapped back. "You're the one sending me everything." Her eyes flashed, and Elias felt her anger slam into him like a wave. In response, his frustration surged into her. For a moment, both staggered under the storm of shared emotions. Erilyn sighed, shaking his head. "Like children throwing stones into the river. You must let the water flow, not splash it against each other." Small discoveries days passed. Slowly, Elias and Serenia began to understand the rhythm of their bond. When one of them calmed, the other could breathe easier. When one panicked, the other felt the spike of fear. Elias discovered something strange. When Serenia focused on her breathing, it soothed him too. In return, when Elias thought of home, of the green forests of Earth and his sister's laughter, Serenia felt peace wash over her. They began experimenting. Could they send images? Yes, but faintly. Elias pictured the night sky of Earth with its single moon, and Serenia gasped as the image flickered in her mind. She showed him the glowing caves under the Cerulean Mountains, filled with crystals that sang when touched. Sometimes it was overwhelming. Once, while eating together, Serenia bit into a piece of sweet fruit. Elias nearly dropped his own food when he tasted the burst of flavor through her mouth. He stared at her. Okay, that's weird. Serenia smirked, a rare smile. Then perhaps don't drink my milk next time. Elias groaned, burying his face in his hands. The humans nearby chuckled, though the Ceruleans stayed serious. The strain of secrets. The bond, however, was not only about sharing small joys. It tore open secrets neither wanted revealed. One evening, Serenia stood outside the hut, staring at the stars. Elias joined her, silent. Through the bond, he felt her longing. She wanted freedom, a life beyond the weight of being the elder's daughter. You don't want this life, Elias said softly. She stiffened. Stay out of my heart. I can't, Elias replied. You're showing me. Her anger burned, but underneath it was sadness. I am meant to guide my people. I cannot wish for anything else. Elias looked at her, feeling both her duty and her quiet pain. But you do. She turned away, her hands clenched. Through the bond, her tears pressed against him like his own. Elias said nothing more, but that night he carried her sorrow with him, heavy as stone. Likewise, Serenia felt Elias's own hidden truth, his fear of never belonging anywhere, his worry that humans would always be seen as intruders in the galaxy. She tasted his loneliness, sharp and raw. For the first time, she softened toward him. You feel like a wanderer, she whispered one night. Elias gave a sad laugh. That's exactly what I am. Growing closer, weeks turned into months. Training continued. They learned to shield parts of themselves to filter the bond so it did not overwhelm them every moment. But in quiet times, when shields lowered, they shared more than thoughts. They shared laughter. When Elias saw a child trip and fall and Serenia's heart burst with gentle amusement, he laughed too, even before he knew why. They began finishing each other's sentences. Sometimes Elias would reach for an object just as Serenia thought of it. Other times, Serenia answered his question before he spoke. The villagers watched with mixed feelings. Some whispered that the bond was dangerous, unnatural. Others said it was fate, a bridge between worlds. The elder himself remained cautious. But even he could not ignore the way Elias and Serenia now moved in rhythm, like two halves of one song. A shadow on the horizon, one evening, as the sun set behind the mountains, Serenia suddenly froze. A cold fear swept through her chest. Elias staggered, clutching his heart. What is it? Elias gasped. Serenia's eyes widened. I don't know. But something dark watches from beyond the hills. I can feel it, Elias swallowed, the fear crawling through his own veins. And now I feel it too. The elder arrived quickly, alarm on his face. Serenia explained, her voice tight. The council listened in silence. It is not imagination, the elder finally said. Sometimes the bond sees further than eyes. If danger approaches, we must prepare. For the first time, Elias realized that their connection was more than a burden. It might be a weapon or a warning. That night, as he lay awake, Elias felt Serenia's heartbeat inside his own chest. Two lives tangled, two minds tied together. Neither of them had chosen it. But now he wondered if perhaps the bond had chosen them. The nights on Leora were quiet, but Elias no longer trusted the silence. Since Serenia had sensed the shadow beyond the hills, he felt uneasy even when the stars glittered peacefully above. Their bond pulsed with warnings he could not explain. Sometimes Serenia woke in the middle of the night, her chest tight, and Elias felt her fear before she even opened her eyes. The Cerulean Council had strengthened guards around the village. Humans, too, had posted watch. Still, no enemy had appeared. Days passed, and some began to whisper that Serenia and Elias had only imagined the threat. but neither of them could shake the heavy feeling that danger crept closer every day. Strange signals one morning as Elias walked along the river's edge. He felt a sudden rush of panic that was not his own. He froze, his eyes darting toward Serenia, who stood several meters away, speaking with children. She stiffened, her hand gripping her arm. "You feel it too," Elias called, moving toward her. Serenia nodded quickly. "Something presses at the edge of my mind. A presence that does not belong." Before Elias could respond, the air cracked with a low hum. Across the river, shadows flickered, figures moving with unnatural speed. Dark shapes emerged, carrying weapons of strange design. The guards shouted. Drums pounded an alarm. The elder hurried from the hall, his staff glowing with light. "The Cordons," he cried. "They have come." The Cordon threat. The Cordons were a hostile faction that lived beyond the mountains. For generations, they had raided and enslaved weaker settlements. Rumors said they sought knowledge and power above all else, and they feared no one. When word of Elias and Serenia's bond reached distant ears, it was only a matter of time before the Cordons learned of it. To them, such a connection was not a sacred accident. It was a weapon to control. The Cordons now stood at the edge of the village, their armor dark and sharp, their faces hidden behind masks. The leader stepped forward, his voice carrying like a blade. "Hand over the bonded pair," he demanded, the human and the elder's daughter. "Give them to us, and we will leave you in peace." Gasps filled the village. The elder struck his staff. "You will not touch them," the Cordon leader laughed. "You cannot protect them forever. Their bond belongs to us now. With it we will rule not only this valley but all of Leora." Elias's stomach turned. Through the bond he felt Serenia's fear tighten like a rope. But beneath her fear was something else. Anger. "No," Serenia whispered, more to herself than anyone else. Elias straightened. "We're not going with them." The villagers prepared their defenses, but the Cordons withdrew for the moment, their leader raising a single hand. "We will return," he promised. "And when we do, no wall, no council, no gods will save you." With that, they vanished back into the hills. Training for war, the council gathered that night in the great hall. Tension filled the room like smoke. Some argued to hand Elias over. Others said surrender would only invite more attacks. Elias stood quietly, Serenia beside him. He felt the pull of every emotion in the hall, fear, anger, desperation. It nearly drowned him, but Serenia's calm presence steadied him. Finally, the elder spoke. "The Cordons will come again. We must be ready, and the bond must be tested. If it can give us strength, now is the time." Elias and Serenia began new training, harder than before. Under Erlen's guidance, they practiced fighting side by side. At first it was chaos. Elias swung too soon, Serenia moved too late. But with each passing day, the bond sharpened them. When Serenia lifted her arm, Elias knew before she did what direction she would strike. When Elias dodged, Serenia's body flowed with him as though they were one dancer. Their enemies in practice drills could not keep up. "You move like mirrors," Erlen observed, astonished. "This bond is not only feeling, it is instinct shared and multiplied." Elias wiped sweat from his forehead, panting. "Then maybe we can use it to stop the Cordons." Serenia looked at him, her eyes glowing faintly in the torchlight. "If we survive, yes." Shared pain, but the bond was not only strength. It carried pain as well. During one harsh training session, Serenia stumbled, cutting her arm against a sharp stone. Elias cried out, clutching his own arm, though no wound touched him. The same sharp pain burned across both minds. "Enough!" the elder shouted, rushing forward. He helped Serenia to her feet, but his eyes lingered on Elias. "Do you see? What harms one harms the other. If she falls, you fall. If you fall, she falls." Elias clenched his teeth. "Then we'll protect each other, always." Serenia glanced at him, her expression unreadable, though he felt a flicker of warmth in her chest. The second attack weeks later, the Cordons returned, this time without warning. Dark ships swooped from the sky, landing outside the village with thunderous force. Soldiers poured out, weapons glowing with energy. The alarm drums beat frantically. Humans and Cerelians rushed to defend. But the Cordons pressed hard. Their leaders shouted above the noise, "Bring us the bonded pair! Take them alive!" Elias and Serenia ran through the chaos, fighting side by side. The bond lit their movements, each anticipating the other's steps. Elias struck with a staff, Serenia with a blade of crystal. Together they cut through attackers with precision that seemed almost unnatural. Yet the enemy was many, and they were only two. A soldier lunged at Elias, but Serenia shoved him aside, taking the blow across her shoulder. Pain shot through Elias at the same moment, dropping him to his knees. His vision blurred, but Serenia pulled him up with fierce strength. "Stay with me," she cried. Through the bond, Elias felt her determination burn like fire. He gritted his teeth and pushed forward, matching her resolve. Together they fought their way back toward the hall. A hidden power as the cordons closed in, Elias felt something strange stir within the bond. It was more than sharing feelings or instincts. It was energy, raw and glowing, pressing to be released. "Do you feel that?" Elias gasped. Serenia's eyes widened. "Yes, it's like the milk is still inside us. Alive." They clasped hands and the bond surged. A wave of psychic force burst outward, knocking cordon soldiers off their feet. The ground itself trembled, and for a brief moment silence filled the battlefield. The villagers and human soldiers stared in shock. The cordons, too, froze, fear flickering in their hidden eyes. Elias and Serenia stood at the center, their hands still linked, their bodies glowing faintly with light. The cordon leader growled. "So the stories are true. The bond has power." He raised his weapon, pointing at them. "Then you are mine to claim." Before he could strike, the elder and Arelyn led a counterattack, driving the cordons back toward their ships. The battle raged until finally the invaders retreated, swearing they would return stronger. Aftermath: when the fighting ended, the village lay scarred but not destroyed. Fires burned, walls cracked, yet the people still stood. Elias and Serenia collapsed side by side, their hands still faintly glowing. Exhaustion dragged them down, but their hearts beat as one. The elder approached, his expression torn between fear and awe. "What you unleashed today? It is beyond anything we have known. The cordons will not stop now. They will come again and harder. But perhaps," he paused, his voice lowering, "perhaps this bond is not curse, but hope." Serenia lifted her head weakly. "Then we must learn more. Before it destroys us." Elias nodded, his chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. "We don't have a choice. If they're coming for us, we'll be ready." The days after the cordon attack were restless. The village rebuilt its walls, humans repaired their equipment, and watchmen stood day and night along the ridges. Yet despite all the noise of hammers and drills, silence filled the hearts of Elias and Serenia. They had felt power awaken inside them, raw and frightening. It had saved the village, but it also made them a target. At night, Elias sat by the fire, staring into the flames. Serenia sat across from him, her wound wrapped but healing. Through the bond, she could feel his unease, and he could feel hers. It was like sitting with two hearts beating in the same chest. "They'll come again," Elias said, his voice low. Serenia nodded, her eyes reflecting the fire. "Yes, and they will not come with small numbers. They want us too much." Elias clenched his fists. "Then we fight." Serenia studied him quietly. He felt her doubts, her worry that the bond might consume them before they ever mastered it. But beneath her fear, Elias also sensed a spark of courage. Preparing for war, the council and the humans met together under the elder's guidance. Plans were drawn. Traps were built along the valley paths. Weapons were forged, blending cerulean crystal with human steel. But all eyes kept turning to Elias and Serenia. Some villagers bowed to them, calling them chosen. Others whispered curses, blaming them for the coming storm. The weight of expectation pressed hard. One evening as they trained, Serenia stopped and faced Elias. Sweat glistened on her skin, and her breath came fast. "Do you ever wonder if this bond is too much for us?" she asked. Elias met her eyes, feeling her exhaustion pulse through him. "Every day. But I also know this: we don't have the choice to run. If we fall, the cordons win. If we stand, maybe our people live." Her lips curved into the faintest smile. "Then we stand." From that night forward, they trained harder than ever. Elias practiced focusing his emotions, sending calm instead of chaos through the bond. Serenia practiced sharing only what was useful, her awareness of danger, her instincts in battle. Slowly, they learned to move as one mind in two bodies. The invasion, it came at dawn. The ground trembled before the enemy ships even appeared. A deep rumble spread through the valley, shaking leaves from the crystal trees. Children clung to their parents. Soldiers gripped their weapons, then the sky darkened. Dozens of cordon ships descended, blotting out the suns. Their black hulls gleamed like knives. The air filled with the shriek of engines and the hiss of energy weapons charging. The elder raised his staff. His voice carried over the frightened crowd. Today we fight not only for our homes but for our future. Stand strong. The first blasts struck the outer walls, exploding in showers of dust. Cordon soldiers stormed forward, their armor glinting. Elias and Serenia ran together to the front line. Through the bond, they felt the fear of the people behind them. They also felt each other, Elias' burning determination and Serenia's fierce resolve. Ready? Elias asked. Serenia's eyes shone. Always. Battle joined, the clash was thunderous. Human rifles blazed. Cerulean crystal spears cut through armor, and explosions shook the earth. The cordons moved like shadows, ruthless and cold. Elias and Serenia fought at the heart of it. When one struck, the other followed. When Elias blocked, Serenia countered. Their bond turned them into a living weapon. At one moment, a cordon swung at Elias's back, but Serenia felt the strike before it came. She shouted, and Elias spun, dodging just in time. A heartbeat later, Elias pushed courage through the bond, steadying Serenia when panic clawed at her. Together they drove forward, step by step, but the cordons were endless. Ships poured out fresh soldiers. Fire rained from the skies. The defenders began to falter. Elias stumbled, feeling pain crash through his chest. Serenia had been struck in the side. He nearly dropped his weapon, the pain blinding, but she forced herself to stand tall, sending him her resolve. "Don't stop," she gasped. He clenched his jaw. "Then we don't stop." The turning point as the battle raged, the cordon leader appeared again. His black armor glowed with cruel light, and his voice boomed across the field. "Your village will burn. Your bond will be ours." He raised a weapon that crackled with energy and pointed it at Elias. Before the blast could strike, Serenia leaped forward, her blade flashing. Elias moved with her, their bond guiding them as if they were one body. The weapon's blast missed, slamming into the ground and tearing a hole in the earth. The leader growled. "Foolish children. You think your bond makes you strong? It makes you weak. Hurt one and the other bleeds." He charged at them. His strikes were heavy, each blow shaking Elias's arms. Serenia moved with him, countering, blocking, their movements flowing like water. But the leader was strong, too strong. Elias's thoughts spun. He felt Serenia's fear rising, and he pushed his own courage into her mind. She steadied, and together they struck back, their weapons moving in perfect harmony. Still, they could not defeat him alone. The hidden power awakes in desperation. Elias and Serenia clasped hands just as they had in the first battle. The bond surged again, but this time stronger, far stronger. Their emotions merged into a storm of fire and light. Energy poured out of them, a wave so bright that even the sun seemed dim. Cordon soldiers were thrown back. Weapons shattered. The leader staggered, his armor cracking. The villagers gasped, shielding their eyes. Humans and Ceruleans alike felt the psychic wave wash over them, filling their hearts with courage. Elias shouted, his voice ringing with both his and Serenia's strength. "We are not yours to take." The leader roared in fury, but the wave struck him full force. His weapon shattered, and he was hurled across the field, crashing into the side of his own ship. For a heartbeat, silence fell. A final push. The defenders, inspired by the display, surged forward. Humans fired with renewed strength. Ceruleans charged with shining blades. The cordons, shaken and disorganized, began to falter. Their leader, injured and retreating, shouted for withdrawal. Ships lifted into the sky, fleeing the valley. At last, the battlefield grew quiet. Smoke rose, the smell of ash thick in the air. The village still stood. The people still lived. And at the center of it all, Elias and Serenia stood hand in hand, their bond glowing faintly with power. Aftermath. The defenders gathered in the village square. Some were injured, some carried the bodies of the fallen, but all looked toward Elias and Serenia. The elder stepped forward. His voice was heavy with both sorrow and pride. "Today we stood against destruction. Today we saw what the bond can do. It is no curse, it is hope. And hope has saved us." The people bowed their heads. Some even knelt before Elias and Serenia. Elias shifted uncomfortably, unused to such respect. Serenia squeezed his hand gently, and through the bond he felt her quiet pride. Later that night, as the fires burned low, Elias and Serenia sat together at the edge of the village. The stars shone bright, untouched by the smoke of battle. "We survived," Elias whispered. Serenia leaned back, her eyes on the sky. "Yes, but the cordons will not stop. Today we pushed them back. Tomorrow they may return stronger. Elias nodded. Then tomorrow we'll be stronger too. Their bond pulsed gently, steady now, like the rhythm of two hearts beating as one. The night after the battle was heavy with smoke and silence. Fires burned low in the ruins of broken walls. Families sat close together, mourning their lost but grateful for those still breathing. Elias and Serenia stood at the edge of the village watching the stars. Neither spoke at first. Words felt too small for what they had endured. Through the bond, they shared the same quiet ache, sorrow for the fallen, relief for survival, and the restless question of what came next. Finally, Elias broke the silence. We won today, but it doesn't feel like victory. Serenia's eyes lingered on the distant mountains where shadows of smoke curled, because this was only the beginning. The Cordons will not forget, and they will not forgive, Elias nodded. Deep inside, he knew she was right. A new roll the following day the council gathered. Humans and Cerealians stood together in the meeting hall. Its crystal pillars cracked from the tremors of battle. The elder leaned on his staff, his voice rough but steady. We have seen with our own eyes the strength of the bond, the elder said. It has saved us all, but it has also painted a mark upon us. The Cordons will not rest until they claim it. We cannot stay hidden any longer. Murmurs filled the hall. Some wanted to flee to deeper lands. Others wanted to fight again. At last the elder turned to Elias and Serenia. You two must decide, he said. The bond chose you. The future of both our peoples lies in your hands. Do we remain in this valley, or do we take the fight beyond our walls? The weight of 100 eyes pressed on them. Elias felt his chest tighten. He was just a soldier, not a leader. But then he felt Serenia's calm steadying him, flowing through the bond. He drew in a deep breath. We can't hide. The Cordons will always find us. If we want peace, we must carry the fight to them. We must show them we will not bow. Serenia's voice followed, firm and clear. But we cannot do it alone. Humans and Cerealians must stand together as one people. Only then can we face what waits among the stars. The hall grew silent. Then slowly, heads began to nod. A decision had been made. Training for the unknown weeks passed. The village became more than a village, it became a fortress. Ruins were rebuilt into strongholds. Crystal towers rose beside human steel watchtowers. For the first time, both races trained side by side. Elias taught the Cerealians how to use rifles. Serenia showed the humans how to channel energy through crystal blades. The bond between the two races grew, mirroring the strange link between Elias and Serenia. Yet the bond itself still demanded practice. Some nights, Elias and Serenia sparred in the training fields. At first their movements clashed, emotions crossing and confusing them, but slowly they grew smoother, faster, more united. During one sparring match, Serenia swung wide, her blade glowing with light. Elias ducked low, their movements flowing like water. Sparks burst as steel and crystal clashed. You hesitated, Serenia teased, breathless. Only because I felt your hesitation, Elias shot back with a grin. Through the bond, her laughter brushed his thoughts, warm and bright. Step by step, they were learning not just to share emotions, but to weave them into strength. Visitors from the stars one evening. As the sun set, a strange shadow fell across the valley. A ship unlike any the villagers had seen descended, its silver hull gleaming with unknown symbols. The defenders raised their weapons, but Serenia felt no malice from the ship. Instead, she sensed curiosity. The vessel landed softly and its ramp opened. From within emerged beings tall and slender, their skin faintly luminous. They carried no weapons, only staffs that glowed faintly. The elder stepped forward cautiously. Who are you? The tallest of the visitors bowed. His voice was calm, like wind over water. We are the Valari. We have watched the storm you faced. The bond you carry has awakened echoes across the stars. We came to see if the stories were true. Elias and Serenia exchanged glances. The Valari's gaze lingered on them. You two are bound beyond flesh, the visitor said softly. Such a union is rare. Dangerous, yes, but also powerful. If guided, it may become the key to ending the Cordon War. The words fell like stones into the silence. A choice of paths. That night, Elias and Serenia sat apart from the crowd. The stars above them. What if the Valari are right? Elias asked. What if this bond is more than just accident? What if it was meant to happen? Serenia's eyes glimmered in the starlight. Fate, chance, it does not matter. What matters is what we do with it. He felt her conviction pulse through the bond. It steadied him. But he also felt her fear. Deep down, she wondered if the bond might consume them, take their lives if they pushed too far. Elias reached for her hand. We'll face it together, always. Her grip tightened. Always. Departure with the Valari's help, a plan formed. A ship was prepared, large enough to carry humans and Cerealians alike. Its purpose was not only to defend but to search, to seek allies among the stars. The day of departure arrived. The whole village gathered at the clearing where the ship waited. Families wept, friends embraced, and vows of courage were spoken. The elder placed his hand on Elias's shoulder. You are no longer a soldier of one world. You are a guardian of many. Carry our hope with you. Serenya's people pressed crystals into her hands, symbols of light and memory. Together, Elias and Serenya walked up the ramp of the ship. The bond pulsed between them, steady and strong. Engines roared. The ground shook. Slowly, the ship lifted into the sky, leaving the valley behind. Journey through the stars' days turned into weeks as they traveled. The vastness of space stretched before them. Endless stars, drifting nebulae, silent voids. Elias often found himself at the observation deck, staring into the black. Serenya would join him, their thoughts mingling quietly. Sometimes words weren't needed. Sometimes just sharing silence was enough. But the journey was not peaceful for long. Pirate ships attacked in the void. Strange storms of energy rattled the hull. At every turn, Elias and Serenya stood together, guiding their people through danger. The bond became their compass, warning them of threats before they appeared. Once, when the crew faced despair, Serenya poured her calm into Elias, and Elias spread it through the bond to the others. Hope returned like fire in the night. The bond was no longer just theirs. It was becoming something greater, a bridge for all. Confrontation, at last, the inevitable came. A Cordon warship appeared in the dark, massive and cruel, its hull marked with scars of past battles. The same leader who once struck their village now commanded from its bridge. His voice thundered across the comms. You run, but you cannot hide. The bond belongs to us. Surrender, and your deaths will be swift. Fear rippled through the crew. Elias and Serenya stood together on the command deck. Through the bond, they felt every emotion of their people. Fear, anger, hope. Elias's voice rang clear. We are not your prey. Serenya's voice followed, sharp and bright. We are the future you cannot break. The bond surged between them. Light spilled across the deck, wrapping the crew, filling them with courage. The battle began. The final test. The Cordon warship unleashed a storm of fire. Shields flared, metal groaned. The crew fought desperately. At the heart of it, Elias and Serenya reached deeper into the bond than ever before. They felt themselves slipping, their identities blurring, their souls almost merging completely. It was terrifying and beautiful. Together, they unleashed a wave of psychic energy. It spread through their ship, turning fear into resolve. It reached out beyond, slamming into the Cordon vessel. Circuits fried, weapons shattered. The warship trembled. The Cordon leader appeared on the screen, his armor cracked, his voice furious. This bond will destroy you. Elias and Serenya's voices answered as one, calm and unshaken. No, it will save us. With a final burst, the Cordon warship split apart, vanishing into the void. Silence returned to the stars. Epilogue. A new dawn. The crew erupted in cheers, relief flooding the ship. Humans and Cerealians embraced, united not by fear but by victory. Elias and Serenya stood at the viewport, watching the stars drift by. The bond pulsed gently between them, not overwhelming now but steady, like the rhythm of life itself. We did it, Elias whispered. Serenya leaned against him, her voice soft. No, we began it, for beyond the stars countless worlds waited, some friendly, some hostile, all watching. And Elias and Serenya knew their journey was only beginning. Together, hand in hand, hearts as one, they stepped forward into the endless future.